In this video, I'm going to be vibe coding with the newly released Cursor 3, which released yesterday from Cursor. And I have to say, I'm pretty impressed. I've had an opportunity to be able to test this out after the launch, and the UI improvements and the design improvements that they have made with this update are actually quite impressive. But I want to talk about Cursor as a whole, and a lot of people since this new update have been asking me, they've been saying, hey, is Cursor better than Claude Code? Should I switch? I'm going to be covering all of that in this video. I'm also going to be showing you what is new with Cursor 3, and let's just kind of jump right into it. I do have a like goal of 200 likes on this video, so if you guys haven't already liked the video and subscribed, make sure you do so, but let's get into it. So the first thing that I think is really cool is their new design tool. So you can click this little toggle over here, and as you guys know, you can have a browser open inside of Cursor, okay? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use this, right? And I'm going to select the logo. I want you to do an in-depth review of the SVG logo for Vibe Academy here, and I want you to update it. I am not a fan of this SVG logo. So I'll just see what it can do, but I basically just pass that in, right? And it will automatically just pass the HTML that I selected with my prompt in to that directory, right? So I really like that because what I'm able to do is I can kind of just like go around a website, right? And for design, I can kind of go around, I can go here, let's say, so I can say view course, let's go to the catalog, right? So this catalog is good, but this header, I don't like this header. So let's click this one here and I'll say, I am not really a big fan of this header. Would you make it more compact, more concise, and remove all of the tags? Just make it super simple. So, it's a very simple prompt here. This one, it did queue it here, so it's down here. But you can see here now it's asking me, the basic Cursor questions, which is pretty nice. Hey, what style do you want to go? So let's just make it clean and geometric. Should the new logo keep the draw on animation? Yes, keep the animated draw on effect. So I'll do continue. We'll see what it produces. But, this is nice for design. I will say, being able to have the browser open in this new interface where with the old editor, you still have access to the old Cursor editor if you do want to do that editor, but I do want to show you the improvement that I see with this update is that previously they had the ability to, this was the old user interface, right? So you had the file structure here, you could close this, and then, for example, you could open a browser here, and let's just go back to that project that we're working on, Vibe Academy, and we can open this up, right? And here is what it looked like. So you had the agent window here, you could manage your agents, but then there's other things where, for example, if you wanted to open a terminal, you could, right? So you can open a terminal, but the problem is the terminals are down here, right? You can open the terminals. This is the terminal interface. You can manage your terminals here. This has been completely redesigned in the new Cursor 3 update, and I have to say it's pretty impressive. So if you want to manage terminals in Cursor now, all you have to do is there's a button for it up here, and this is the new terminal interface for managing terminals inside of Cursor. So you can see here that you can open up the terminals, and it's in this its own frame. So rather than it being jammed down there like it is out of the box in Visual Studio Code, now they've kind of implemented a better design so that people can just manage all of their terminal interfaces, because I think they know that, hey, to some extent, people do like just being able to launch Claude Code, for example. I could launch Claude, and this is pretty good. I have to say, this is impressive. Now, like I said, I would answer this question at the start of the video. A lot of people do ask me, they say, hey, what do you think about, Cursor over Claude Code? And I do want to say just up front, I do have the Cursor plan for $200 a month, and I have been a Cursor user since very early on for over a year. And I will say that Cursor, from a cost standpoint, doesn't really make sense to users that, let's say you have a $20 budget, right? It makes more sense to get a Claude Code or a Codex subscription instead of getting a Cursor subscription, because Cursor, they're integrating with these models, right? They're paying Anthropic, they're paying OpenAI to be able to interface with their models. Whereas if you buy a Claude Code subscription, they are the model provider. So inherently, you are going to get more usage. You're going to get more tokens if you do use Claude Code or use a Codex. You're going to get less usage if you use Cursor. So, the thing is with Cursor, you get a lot more tools than you would with anything else, right? So even this right here. So this, let's drop this in. When I click the hamburger icon, it's not actually displaying the mobile navigation bar. what is the cause of this, fix this. So that is very nice where I can just pass these in. It passes in what I'm referencing. So I really like that. That's new. But one thing that definitely stood out to me with this update is it did give me Codex app vibes. So if you guys have seen the Codex app, let me just pull it up real quick so you guys can see what I'm kind of talking about here. So this is the Codex app, right? And with the Codex app, this is what you have with the Codex app. But there's things with the Codex app that Cursor has that are better than the Cursor app. So let me update. I haven't used the Codex app in a little bit, so let me update it because I just want to make sure that this hasn't been like built in. But yeah, like for example, browser use. I don't think that there's a built-in browser inside of the Codex app, where if you go look at Cursor, this built-in browser in Cursor, if you are a web developer and you're developing web apps, this actually does make just like a huge difference. So I really do like that. But you can see that Cursor 3 is very, very similar to the Codex app, where, hey, you launch a new thread. But honestly, I would say that Cursor actually has a much better UI than the Codex app. But that's the vibe that it gave me because, hey, if you do kind of block out these terminals, right? The look that we're looking at now is, hey, you launch a new agent and you're able to go anywhere you want, right? So I can go anywhere on my computer. I can reference BridgeMind, for example, and I can say, I want you to do an in-depth review of the project, launch 10 agents to do a complete review of the BridgeMind API and identify any security vulnerabilities that you can find or errors in the code or sloppy code, and output all of your findings in a structured list of reasoning of why it's an issue and how we could potentially fix it without introducing breaking changes. Do not update any code, only output all of your findings. So I'm going to do this and then I'm going to put it in ask mode and I'll just add the BridgeMind API. So let's drop this in and it's going to launch 10 subagents using Claude Opus 4.6 Max. And I have to say, like, I'm pretty impressed with this update, more so from the design perspective, right? Like not a whole lot has changed from like a functionality standpoint. Like you still have your normal modes, ask mode, agent mode, debug mode. You know, you have some good modes. You have subagents, which are nice. But the thing is that the design is completely revolutionized. Like I love this design, and whoever at Cursor was involved with this design, I will just say good job to you, because this is exactly what vibe coders need. They need a better interface to manage more agents at the same time. So let's kick off another agent. This time we're actually going to go over to View Creator, and I'm going to go to @View Creator Genesis, which is actually a clipping application. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say, I want you to do an in-depth review of View Creator Genesis with 5 subagents. And note that we are going to make some pivotal changes and refactor this project, but I first need you to do a complete deep dive and gain a complete understanding of this project and how it interacts with the View Creator API. So we're going to drop in all of this. And I'll just drop in this here. And what I'm using for voice to text is I am using Bridge Voice. This is one of the tools in the BridgeMind suite of vibe coding tools. You can check it out at bridgemind.ai. But we're going to look and we're going to actually have all of these agents get launched. And it's pretty good. Like I remember when Cursor actually didn't even have subagents. I think subagents were introduced maybe about 2 months ago. But the user interface, that's the big difference that you get when using something like Cursor over Claude Code, because Claude Code, right, you're working in a terminal and the UI that you get in Claude Code is not great, right? Where with Cursor, you can even see here, I can see a nice to-do list. I can see my subagents all kicking up. And let's just go over to BridgeSpace real quick and kind of just cross-reference this with Claude Code. Let's go over here and let's just launch, 6 Claude Code agents. And this is my product. This is BridgeSpace, which is basically a way to be able to manage a bunch of like Claude Code, Codex, Gemini, Cursor agents all in the same place. It's a really good ADE, which is an agent development environment. And I use this every day. This is my daily driver. You can get access to this at bridgemind.ai. But for example, if I'm using Claude Code, right? Like I can drop in the BridgeMind API and let's just give it that same exact prompt, right, to Cursor, and let's go to that BridgeMind prompt. So here, it'll get a little bit complicated. This is one thing about the new update is it'll get a little bit complicated in this left sidebar, because if you're managing a bunch of projects at once, for example, it'll show you all of the agents for each root directory. So for example, if I launch Cursor Agent inside of a particular repository, I can then manage it. So you can see, okay, here are all my agents that are working in this directory. Here are all my agents that are working in this directory, which is pretty nice, actually. That's pretty nice. So you can see, okay, these are my Cursor agents that are launched on the Vibe Academy directory on my folder. These are the ones that are launched in the Bridgebench directory on my folder, the Bridgemine API directory. And in the future, the capabilities and the productivity that one singular engineer that's vibe coding or agentic coding is going to have, this is the correct approach because we are working on multiple things at once. We're no longer just like tinkering around working at one file at a time. So here's that cursor, and you can see that it did launch 10 subagents. So what's nice is you can literally open these and see what that subagent is doing. So you can see here's a subagent. Here's everything that subagent came up with. Here's its findings, and it basically did this entire checklist, right? So passed all of these checks. Remember, that was that security deep dive. So that's pretty interesting. How do I get out of this, though? Is there a way to easily get out? That's like, this is one thing, like, I don't see cursor. How do I get out of this? How do I get out? Can you make it easy for me to get out of a subagent? Let's try going this and then back. Okay, I can go that and then go back. But cursor, if you're watching this, maybe make it a little bit easy to go back to the main conversation after looking at a subagent's conversation. That would be really helpful. So here is the comprehensive security and code quality update. So it's going to give me a complete executive summary. And let's just, copy and paste this into Claude Code, because what I'm trying to show you guys is working inside of a terminal user interface is a lot different than working inside of Cursor. And I think that that's one of the best strengths of Cursor is that, hey, even though, you're going to be paying, for example, like in terms of usage, what I've seen as a Cursor Ultra subscriber is that for my $200 subscription, I get about $500 worth of API usage. I don't know what that, they have to be making some money somehow, right? But let's say that I do $200 subscription, I get about $500 on that subscription worth of API use. But let's contrast that with Claude Code. And as you guys know, Claude Code has been doing some rate limiting recently, as you guys know, but Claude Code is still the best agentic coding tool in my opinion. And with that Claude subscription, before they started rate limiting, you could literally get thousands of dollars worth of Claude usage from that $200 plan. I don't know what it is anymore because they've adjusted the rates and the rate limiting, which may be a little bit of a benefit of using Cursor now, is that I don't know what the rate limits of Claude Code are now because they've reduced them, or if that will change. But I will say it's a lot more on Claude Code. So if you're one of those people that are trying to figure out, hey, what should I do? What should I choose? You are inherently going to get more usage if you just get a Claude subscription because you're going directly to the provider of the actual model themselves, right? So that's the benefit of using Claude Code. But again, that terminal user interface, like let's just drag this and drop this into a new workspace. It is a different experience. Like here's the terminal user interface. And yes, like using this in Bridgespace does make it better for sure. But I will say the terminal user interface is not as good as it is, when you're using Cursor. It's like, hey, inside a Cursor, I can do this browser use, this browser tool is pretty big. And if you guys have used agentation, you guys will know that, yeah, to be able to select these HTML elements, like let's just do new agent real quick. Like I really do like that. I really do. I like the ability to select that and then to literally just, paste that in with my prompt. That is very, very intuitive and just a nice add-on. It's a nice tool. Another thing that you can do inside of Cursor is you can actually commit all of your changes from Cursor. So for example, like let's go back to that, what was the Vibe Academy? If we go back over here, right? So I can actually manage my Git commits from Cursor itself. So you can see review, I can review all the changes. So I can click review and you can see here that I made a ton of changes, right? So here are all the changes that were made and all the ones that were made inside of before, like in my Git branch, right? So I can do create branch and I just click that, right? And it does a commit. So it says, let me check the current state and recent commit history first. And it'll go through the process of doing that. It'll then generate the command to be able to commit this. So that's another really nice feature. And for example, like, hey, inside of Claude Code, you're not doing this inside of Claude Code. You would have to have a skill. The user interface wouldn't look like this, where you can like literally see these terminals that are launching. Like, this is very nice. Done. Created branch, cursor, UI, overhaul, logo, SEO, mobile nav, and committed all 51 files. Working tree is clean, not pushed. That is impressive. And you can literally do push up here. So you see the push up here, you can push all of your changes there. And when you push, it literally just pushes it, and it does it in the conversation. So this is another really strong strength. So you can see that it was now pushed. And that, again, like, this is impressive, guys. Like, this is very impressive. And then you can even create a PR all directly from Cursor. And I think that Cursor, honestly, is probably number one now as an agentic IDE, because you have browser use, you have the terminal use, you have the agent conversations, you have this full integration with GitHub. I probably am going to start using Cursor a little bit more inside of my workflows, because this is just very impressive. They did a great job with this. And I have to say, like, Cursor 3 is a very large design improvement over what we had previously. And design is not everything, but at the same time, design will make a difference if you're a vibe coder that's like in flow state, trying to get as much done as possible, trying to spin up a ton of different agents across a ton of different projects. If you're a true vibe coder, that's what a lot of vibe coders are doing now, is you're working inside of, 3 or 4 different projects. You have a bunch of agents that are running, you're managing all of them, and you kind of get into this flow state. And a lot of people will criticize it, but the thing is that this is the way that things are headed, is that the new skill of software development is to be able to be an agent orchestrator and to be able to manage a bunch of agents at once. And I think that Cursor is probably going to be a pretty big enabler of this. So back over here on my Genesis project review, so these 5 agents are done, and here's the summary that we're getting. And again, what I'm seeing from Cursor is the UI that you get here. If you are trying to get into that flow state, this is impressive. And this update, the design improvements, are going to make me use Cursor more inside of my workflow. It's a complete summary here. It looks very good. And if we go back to Bridge Space in that terminal user interface, my agents are still working. So, we'll get them back out. I will say, if you are a user of Claude Code, Codex, any agent, Bridge Space is a phenomenal product to be able to manage all of that in one agent development environment. Now with Cursor, that's going to be a little bit more of an IDE. You're going to spend more on Cursor. You're not going to get as much usage, but this is a big improvement, and I'm very impressed with Cursor for this. Look at this UI. The tables look nice. Because they're using Markdown, and they're formatting this in such a great way that this will help you when you're in flow state. It's almost like having ChatGPT inside of your terminal, inside of your workspace. And that's what it feels like a little bit more now, rather than, okay, if you're using Claude Code, this terminal user interface probably just can't compete with a Cursor interface, right? And now you have all of these added on tools like browser use and terminals and the ability to actually see your code and to be able to actually commit your changes. This is very impressive. And I'm definitely going to start using Cursor more inside of my workflow. And the main reason is just because of the design improvements, like the design, and to be able to get into that flow state and manage all my agents here. It's a very good product, and this is a substantial improvement in the design workflow. Not a ton of functionality improvements, but that will be a thing in itself. You can also open these workspace. This is just impressive. So you can SSH, you can run Cursor in the cloud. This is impressive. But like I said, you're not going to get as much token usage if you are a Cursor subscriber versus Claude Code or a Codex. But in terms of if you are a power user, if you're a super user, this is definitely something that you want inside of your stack because of the interface. The design is incredible. So look at this. It found all this dead code, and it's just presenting it to me in such a better way that it's going to make me more productive. So that's going to end it for this video. I just want to give you guys the first look and play around with it a little bit, but I'm going to start using this more for sure. If you guys have any questions, let me know in the comment section down below, and I will see you guys in the future.